Good evening, board members present, Mr. Gonzalez and district staff and public out in the audience. Time is 6:04 p.m. on this 21st day of June 2023, and I call this regular meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. May I have the trustees please announce the presence for the record.
Gilbert Milagro, present.
Michelle Molina, present.
Frank Castillo, present.
Thank you. And myself, Ramiro Velez III, present. Let the record show that quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 2 will be Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, public comments.
Yes, Mr. Velez, we have 3 public comments. The first one will be Mr. Luis de la Garza on employee raises.
Thanks, sir.
And you have 3 minutes, sir.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Gonzalez. I'm here to ask this evening to ask the UISD to increase teacher support, paraprofessional and police salaries by 7%, as well as 2% increase for administrators, which includes a cost of living adjustment to mitigate rising inflation. I've taken the liberty of composing a quantitative analysis on salaries for employees in various capacities. As you can see from the annex copies, which were also emailed to the board's respective emails, the net pay for paraprofessional employees is very low once all the deductions have been accounted for by pay period. Furthermore, the pay scale for a paraprofessional employee who has 11 years of service is only earning $10.77, while a 2-year employee makes $10.48 an hour, which amounts to a difference of 29 cents. The disparity between the pay grades should be addressed so that employees that have attained longer years of service with the district can be retained. Prices will continue to rise this summer, including the price of electricity, due to the intense heat that only continues to make Laredo hotter and thus require the AC to be set at a lower temperature. As a result of the rising inflation, many of our employees are now seeking second jobs and working at places such as Walmart and H-E-B to make ends meet. These same employees are opting out of both districts in order to receive higher wages and overtime pay. I was told by a friend of mine who works at our sister district, who decided to, after 18 years, to decide he wanted to opt out and work full-time as an H-E-B employee, where he is benefited the overtime opportunity. The district needs to offer solutions in order to retain their labor force, or it will continue to face departures from employees in various capacities throughout the district. As TSDA president, I'm here to collaborate with district personnel and trustees to ensure that students and employees are successful in their academic and professional setting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Mr. Victor Vasquez regarding item 4E, the homestead exemption.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Mr. Vasquez, good evening, sir. Go ahead.
My name is Victor Vasquez. I guess you guys know me by now. I want to talk about the homestead exception. I want you guys to vote against it. I think the district should start looking for other places where to get the money, like for having the in-house lawyers. You know, I think they make a lot of money from the district. I got one from Open Records that show the amount of money that the firm CRD makes with the districts. It's ridiculous, the amount of money just for attending so many events. I don't think that the contract says something about attending events. The other one you can be looking into is the contract that you guys give out, looking into more into it, because I think they're overpricing whatever you guys are contracting. Like, for example, the AC unit for School Gonzalez, $1.8 million for 16 units. I think that's ridiculous. Auctions. I see you guys doing a lot of auctions. Like, I guess auction tables, chairs, computers, and those things you have to buy it back. You auction them out. So I think I've been seeing an increase of auction in USD, and I think it's another place you can be looking how we can save money. So the idea is to look further into what you guys can save money, still they increase the tax for the homestead exception. And it's right now it's a lot of difficult time to the district right now because we all know what's going on, and hopefully it comes to an end pretty soon. And just looking around, I can see most of the people here we're going to be dressing orange uniforms or jumpsuit, what they call them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vazquez.
The last public comment we have is from Mr. James Arthur regarding a commercial trucking warehouse across from Muller Elementary School.
Good evening, Mr. Arthur.
Greetings. My name is James Arthur, and I am the community manager for the Labota Homeowner Association. And I provided a document for you that was written by Mr. Raul Garza, and he is one of our board members. And I'm going to just explain to you what's going on. The community entrance we have has the Muller Elementary School. And right across the street from there, there is a 19-acre piece of property that is scheduled to be developed into warehousing. And the biggest concern of that, besides the warehousing and the trucking, is that the two roads that they will use will go right in front of the elementary school. So I'm going to read some of the statements on the letter that Mr. Garza had provided, and this will help explain our situation a little better. But the Muller Elementary School has approximately over 850 students. As you can see by the aerial picture in the paper I provided, the location of the school will be right in front of the warehouse that's under consideration. So the school is already engulfed by a sea of warehouses and industrial area there, and the proximity of this new warehouse would increase risks to the school, its family, its children, and staff of the elementary school. The site location of the warehouse is 19 acres. Such a size of land can potentially house a warehouse of almost 300,000 square feet. This is a very large warehouse that would substantially increase the traffic flow of heavy and mid-sized vehicle traffic in an area already congested right in front of the elementary school. The Muller Elementary School and Labota Ranch subdivision currently have only one entrance and exit, and that's that main boulevard right there. And the community, Labota has over 500 families in the community. So you've got a combination of the school and the community there using one road, which would now be shared by this warehouse and 18-wheelers and a lot of industrial traffic. So there is a lot of history there with the Labota subdivision, how it's been plagued with business and personal issues for many years that have directly or indirectly contributed to some of these poor decisions made under circumstances of financial distress that put the families of the Labota subdivision and Muller Elementary School in this situation of duress at many levels. The current owner of the 19 acres purchased the property from bankruptcy auction related to the original developers of Labota Ranch, and the intent of those acres were not zoned to M1. However, due to the financial circumstances of the developer of the Labota Ranch, they conveniently zoned as such, completely disregarding the issue that such a conversion in zoning would cause to elementary school and the community of Labota Ranch. So we can't change the zoning. It's been zoned. It's what it is. But what we're asking for the board is a resolution. And we can take this resolution and we can present it to the zoning and planning, the city of Laredo, and also directly to the company that is considering developing this warehouse. So I'm here to ask you that if you would please consider that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur.
That's all right, thank you.
We'll have a quick comment by Ms. Molina.
Mr. Arthur, thank you so much for coming forward
you,
and
ma'am.
speaking about the issue there in front of Muller Elementary. It is one of our top priorities. I have been in communication personally with Mr. Garza
Great.
and other members of your board. We are going to put this into top priority, and we have sponsorship for a resolution.
Great.
That will come very, very soon. And that's to bring all parties to the table and find a resolution for this.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, and good evening. Thank you.
No further public comments, Mr. Velis.
Thank you, Mr. Troutman. Agenda item 4 is consent agenda items.
Mr. Velis, members of the board,
Sir?
it is at this time the administration is respectfully requesting that we pull or remove item 4E from the consent agenda item to be tabled.
Yes, I believe,
All right, so 4E is approval resolution adopting local option homestead exemption.
Second.
Do we need a motion for that, Mr. Troutman, or?
we need a motion to remove it from the consent agenda, and then I believe you would like administration to make a
Short
presentation, correct?
presentation. Immediately after.
Okay.
And then once the presentation concludes, the board can act accordingly.
I'll make a motion to remove item 4E from consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion a second.
Discussion?
Discussion, go ahead.
Thank you. This item, I completely understand, I appreciate the presentation from administration. I know it's something that we are heavily looking to do, and providing salary increases to our teachers and employees, which is much needed. With a cost of living going up every year, we need to find a more sustainable solution to be able to provide that to our employees. So I thank you for all the hard work that you're doing in trying to present something for consideration. So I understand the business perspective of that. The area that I represent, which I'm sure is a feeling across the board, or not across the board, but throughout the city, is economically disadvantaged area, where either that or fixed incomes in the area that I represent. And for that, I don't think it's something that we need to be considering for the homestead extension to be moved, but I am in favor of tabling it to be able to gather some more information and do a presentation on that. So thank you.
I wanted to say that I feel very much strongly in opposition to this homestead exemption being changed. And I would rather not table it, but actually get a vote on this matter now, because if we hope to maybe possibly bring it back later, then everybody can chime in on it at that time. But this deals with homestead exemption, and I've listened to our constituents, and it's a resounding, very, very strong message that we're getting, claiming that this will hurt them. And the way the cost of living is going on, every help that we can give our families, I'm going to stand with our families. And I realize that we have teachers included in our constituents, but I think the comments I did get from teachers did indicate that they were actually very much in favor, at least those that reached out to me, that they didn't want this to happen because they feel that this is something that will benefit them now as the way the prices are with the cost of living. And so if there's a way for me to register that I am in opposition to this, I want to say that now, or if allowed to, that we vote on it and not table it. I would rather have that done. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Velis, may I make, well, right now the motion is to remove it from
To remove
consent.
it, so I'm gonna go ahead and allow that vote to proceed, and then we'll move on to the presentation by administration on it. And then at that point afterwards, we'll see about a subsequent motion. So all those in favor to remove from consent agenda items, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. So item gets removed, and now I'm gonna allow administration to do a presentation on this particular item.
Thank you, Mr. Velis. Board members, for the record, Laida Benavides, I'm the CFO for United ISD. I do have a presentation to show and to share with the public regarding the local optional homestead exemption, just to give them a little bit of history, the impact, what we see, what we've heard from the state, et cetera. So if you can just bear with me, it's a real quick presentation. I think we left a copy on your desk.
You did.
On your
It's
area.
this one.
Why are we considering lowering the local optional homestead exemption to 10%? Well, one of the main factors is that in the 88th Texas legislation session that just finished at the end of May, they did not pass a school finance bill that would have provided additional funds to school districts, leaving districts like ours to seek revenue from other sources for compensation for teachers and staff and other district operations. Under the current law, United ISD tax rate would decrease by almost 13 cents. This has nothing to do with the school finance bill. The 13-cent reduction has nothing to do with any additional tax relief that we're hearing from the state that they're talking about at this point. This will happen under current law, a tax reduction to our taxpayers. We also feel, and I have been here many years, I could say that I've been here almost 30 years, and I'll say been here 30 years. United ISD has always had a lower tax rate than allowed by the state. Many years ago, they would allow us to go to $1.50. We were at $1.38. We were at $1.35. We were never at the max. So I think as UISD, we've always held our taxpayers' interests to heart, knowing that we were never going to try to collect more than we needed at that point. And so we've always had a lower tax rate than allowed by the state in past years. Another issue, the local optional 15% homestead exemption. It has resulted in over $9 million per year of uncollected revenues with no credit from the state. And what our constituents need to understand is that the state at this point thinks we're taxing these values, which at this point are over $900 million in values that we exempt. And so they don't recognize that we do this exemption. They don't make up for it with state revenue. And so at the end of the day, we do get less money, state and tax revenue per student than many of our fellow school districts. And we, try to do our best with our operations. And I think, instruction and all our staff have done remarkable with the resources we do have. We have offered this exemption for 30 years since 1993. And I need to tell you, in 1993, this district was very different than what you see it right now. We had 2 high schools, we had 2 middle schools, and we had 7 elementary schools. We were a lot smaller district. I think we had maybe 15,000 students. So I need to tell you that our tax base also looked very different a long time ago. We had less home values. And so our support was coming from, oil and gas, commercial, but then our school district just grew so fast, and now here we are 30 years later with the number of schools we have with 41,000 students, and of course we have those home values out there that we continue to exempt. However, in all of this, the state continues to penalize districts who offer a local optional homestead exemption. Another fact that we wanted to share with the board and with our constituents was that very few Texas school districts offer a local optional homestead exemption. Most of these school districts are rural with less population than what we have right now, or others that offer have a very high industrial commercial tax base, such as Houston ISD. We cannot compare with the Houston, the Dallas areas, with all the businesses, the manufacturing companies, the Bay areas with all the refineries. We do not have that kind of tax base. And so we found that Houston, some surrounding school districts around Houston offer a homestead exemption. And then our neighboring district, Laredo ISD, currently offers a 10%. Webb Consolidated, down the street from us, a small rural district, offers I think a 20%. But again, their population is a lot less than we are. And they rely more on oil and gas values. So another fact in doing our calculations, the average United ISD home value is $225,000. And under current law, this homeowner would see an approximate increase of about $6.57 per month, or maybe $78.84 per year. However, the state legislators at this point, right now, they're in what they call the special session number 1, where the Governor Abbott has told them that they have two topics to talk to in the special session. It's tax relief and border security. And we'll share some numbers that we're hearing, that what the House version came up with tax relief and what the Senate version came up with tax relief. We do understand the governor is very passionate, I need to use the word passionate, about property tax relief. There will be additional property tax relief coming to us, coming to our taxpayers in some form or fashion. They have set aside over $12 billion to address property tax relief through the school district system. The thing is that when we lower our taxes based on this property tax relief, we do not get more revenue. It's kind of like a neutral revenue mechanism. They'll lower our taxes for us, and then they'll give us the revenue that we lose. So it's kind of like a balancing game. We will not gain more revenue by them decreasing our taxes. So what we did was we did this exercise of the following slides will show you the various scenarios of the tax effect on our homeowners under current law, if the House bill passed or if the Senate bill passed. And the reason, before I get into these, the reason the governor, that we show the passion that he has for property tax relief, he actually vetoed many bills, and while vetoing these bills, he actually made a proclamation saying, I don't want to deal with this bill because I think y'all need to pass property tax relief first. So we know the governor's on board, he's trying to get the Speaker of the House on board, and he's trying to get the Lieutenant Governor on board. So we know something's coming. We just don't know when. And Special Session 1 will end next Tuesday. They have 30 days, and I think they're up there, debating, I think. Never have seen something like this in the years I've been here with the legislation, that they have prolonged some of these decisions. So I'd like to take this time to show you the different scenarios. So right here I've highlighted what we thought is an average homestead value. That the Webb County Appraisal District, when they give us our roll, they say at UISD, this is your average homestead value. So we highlighted that. We kind of gave it because everybody says, and it's true, I did get my own home value increase. We incorporated a market value increase of about 15% in this calculation. And then because a home cannot grow by more than 15%, we came back and limited to the 10% that it can grow from year to year. And so this homeowner that had a value of $225,000, we're using a net appraised value of $247,000, which is equivalent to cutting it off at the 10%. We used a local homestead exemption in this calculation of 10%, which is something that we are hoping to propose to the board for consideration. The state homestead exemption right now is $40,000. So this particular home ends up with a taxable value of a little over than $181,000. When we apply our tax rate, and remember I told you we do need to reduce our tax rate down to 89 cents. It's 0.89494. That's our total estimated tax rate under current law. We apply that to the value, and this homeowner's value or tax bill would be $1,625. The prior year tax on this average homestead was $1,547. And so when calculating the increase in this homeowner, the homeowner would owe about $78.84 more a year, or breaking it down per month would be $657. Many of our homeowners, pay their mortgage on a monthly basis, and that's where they would feel, the increase in taxes or insurance and everything else. So there you see a calculation of a smaller home or a smaller valued home of $150,000. Remember, $225,000 is the average. And then you see a calculation of $350,000 home and one of almost $500,000. And even the $500,000 home would see an increase of a little less than $10 per month. So that's a calculation under current law. What we're seeing from the House bill right now that is being proposed is what they call a 16-cent tax rate compression. That doesn't mean 16 cents would come off our books. What we calculated is that 16 cents is interpreted that we would have to drop another 8 cents. And so our tax rate, if you can remember the slide before, that we were projecting, now I'm going, That's why I'm not a teacher, because I mess up these things. Okay, let's see. So we had said that the estimated tax rate was 89 cents. Under the House bill, we would go down to about 81 cents, or dropping it about 8 cents. And so this particular taxpayer that we're looking at, that we shaded in blue, our average homeowner, would actually see a decrease in their taxes of $65.37, or $5 more a month, even with our homestead exemption being reduced to 10%. And then looking at the Senate bill has two versions to it. They have a tax rate compression of 10 cents, which in our calculation showed that we would have to drop 2 cents more than that 89 cents, so we would be 87 cents. But however, the Senate wants to increase their homestead exemption from 40,000 to 100,000. And incorporating those two things into this calculation, the average homeowner of 225,000 would see their tax liability go down by over $481, or $40 a month. And so that's where we kind of say that there is some type of property tax relief coming, even when we incorporate the 10% homestead exemption, the drop of 5%. And we just know, because of the governor and the amount of money they put in property tax relief of over $12 billion, that something is going to happen maybe in the next week, or the governor will call special session number 2. Many of these things have to do with the voters voting in November for some of these things. We don't think the voters will turn down property tax relief. And so we're pretty sure that additional property tax relief is coming to our homeowners. And, you know, that way, if any time that is ideal to change the homestead exemption so that our homeowner does not feel the full brunt of the reduction, would be at this time, because of the additional property tax relief coming from the state. And so, you know, again, we go to the question, why are we lowering the homestead exemption or recommending to lower it? Is that we feel that the UISD taxpayer, both homeowners and businesses, because remember, the lower tax rate also helps our businesses, would see an additional property tax relief from the state. The reduced exemption would allow us to recapture recuperate about $3 million per year. And then the additional revenue would, because it's general fund revenue, gives us the latitude to use it for raises for teachers as well as other staff or other operations. We personally have been penalized for 30 years for having this exemption. We're not asking to completely do away with it. We understand about home ownership, but we just felt that because of the additional property tax relief coming from the state, that this would also, you know, be an ideal time to kind of get a little bit more money back from the state, because they're not giving us the credit for it at this time. Thank you. Unless
Ms.
anybody-
Benavides, and at this time, I understand that the Senate's probably going to meet as early as Tuesday, so we might hopefully have a better
Yes,
picture
the
next
way we
week.
understand, excuse me, the session was called on May 29th, and they have 30 days. They can't go past 30 days. And so looking at the calendar, the 30th day is Tuesday, June 27th. I don't know if they can go till midnight that day, but I know that that is the last day that they
Right.
can take any kind of action.
Right. So, Mr. Veliz, members of the board, I know that this item has already been pulled for tonight. So administration is recommending that this item be brought back and tabled as a consent item in the future.
Ms. Benavides,
I'm sorry, sometime in what?
To be tabled for
For
future meeting, yes,
Yes, I think that,
future meeting?
yes.
I think that will give us an opportunity. You know, maybe the state will take some action between now and June 27th. The governor is really pushing it, and then we'll really see, you know, what additional property tax relief they have settled on.
Can we request a special call meeting lateral part of next week?
Yes, because we're also looking, as you know, Ms. Molina, a resolution for the situation in Muller.
Right.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons that I wanted to have a vote today, because if we do call a special call meeting, there's no assurance that everybody's going to be present even for that, so I wanted to make sure that we did have an opportunity to vote on this now. That's my only concerned that
Right.
I might not have an opportunity to come back in a week or 2 weeks, whatever the case might be.
Do we have any comments from board members not attending today?
Yes, ma'am. I did receive a comment from Mr. Javier Montemayor, who unfortunately was not able to be here today, that he did want me to read into the record. So if I may, so please note that while the board has been steady and consistent in its efforts to address the salaries and wages of our teachers and staff, we need to continue working together and make concerted efforts to attract and retain quality employees. I recognize that, and I applaud the UISD staff in identifying and addressing our district's needs. However, as to the homestead exemption currently available to UISD residents, I ask the board to consider keeping it the same and not reducing it. With the recent increased appraisal values on our homes, inflation, and the higher cost of living in general, removing this exception could be detrimental to many households. Providing some property tax relief should be a priority for us. In addition, the district I serve, District 5, includes some of the oldest homes in UISD, and as such, many retired residents that live on fixed incomes. These residents will be directly affected by the removal of this exemption. While we have taken positive steps like reducing the district's tax rate, I cannot at this time support any item requesting the removal or decrease of the homestead exemption. I ask the board to table this matter, Mr. Montemayor to put it for July, so we may all be present, or in the alternative, reject this proposition. Javier Montemayor, trustee, District 5.
Mr. Chapman, can I address the board on just one topic?
Absolutely.
The over 65, the taxes are frozen, and in fact, when you do, when we do reduce the tax rate, the tax liability of the over 65 gets recalculated. And so they do, so their taxes are frozen, and even if we reduce our tax rate and there's more additional property tax relief, those individuals' taxes will get recalculated on the new rate, and their taxes would come down. But otherwise, they are frozen where they're at. So it doesn't impact the over 65 homeowner.
Ms. Benavides, you do, is there a deadline for this to occur?
June
For
the-
a particular time? Is it?
June the 30th, correct?
Is it?
June 30th, July 1st.
June 3rd, so we couldn't bring it back in July,
No, we couldn't.
where all of us could be perhaps present in a regular meeting.
Ms. Benavides, you said June 30th, right?
June 30th.
So that's
yes,
8 days
yes.
from now.
And that's why I'm requesting a special called meeting for next week.
Yes.
Not a part of next week.
Right, and
You
maybe
want-
we'll know
Yes,
about the
I would,
state.
I think we all understand our positions.
Right,
It would be best if we had a full board.
definitely. Do
So
you want to
that-
go ahead and make a motion right now?
I'm going to make a motion
I
to
just-
table this so that we
I-
have a full board so that they can voice their opinions, which.
Just
you've
wanted a
already heard.
discussion.
I did have an additional comment regarding this agenda item, and I think it's very clear, we all respect each other's views. We have differences in how we would address this matter, and I just want to make sure that everybody is heard. True, I'm just saying, when is it the proper time to be heard? And that's why I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to say that I think we need to look at other ways to perhaps, and I don't want to equate teacher raises with what we're doing here, because I think that's where part of the discussion the public is confused about, that this has to do with teacher raises or employee raises. This has to do with an exemption, 15%, which I'm much in agreement that we should maintain it as is. Anyway, that's my comment, thank you.
It's the additional revenue that comes that we would be able to use. I think that's a clarification on it.
May I, Mr. President?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Just to clarify, I know we have, the state has 32 billion surplus money, which they were working with and fighting back and forth, so I know it's a waiting game. I know we are on for teacher raises and taking care of paraprofessionals and bus drivers. You know, that's our base, our core of the district, right? The inflation has been very tremendous to everybody. It's been impact. So, Mr. Castillo, I agree with you in the sense of the tax base. The only thing is that we have a special session for Tuesday, we might have something positive that the bill might pass, and it's just giving us, for us not to, I guess, jump the gun. Maybe we have a special meeting, doesn't mean it's gonna pass. We still have the rest of the 7, board members that might be here, and I think doing it together, and I think we're gonna do a right decision together for everybody, and we're gonna get this done. I think it's a waiting game, and like you said, it's been 30 years since we've been losing a lot of money. At the same time, we've been helping the the taxpayers, because the district has been able to take that hit because of the oil industry, the boom. I used to work in the oil field. It was very good back then. You know, nowadays it's coming back to a medium. So everybody is suffering, even myself. So I think we're going to do the right decision to support everybody across the board. I know we have to do it from the bottom up, not from the top down. And that's something that we are all aware. I know LISD is at 10%, but they're also a smaller market. They're locked in. So UISD is growing. I think we have a lot of growth in the district, and I'm excited to be here and be part of it. I'm hoping for property tax relief from the state. That's going to help balance and maybe do something for where we can get some money for teacher raises. That's something that we're going to push for.
Thank you.
So,
So at this point, are we going to have a motion for,
Ms. Molina made a motion to table, so we need a second on that, and then the vote.
second to table, future meeting?
For special call meeting, right?
for a special
Next
call
week.
meeting?
Latter part.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
All those opposed?
No.
One opposed, so 3 in favor, 1 opposed, motion passes to table. So we move on to full consent agenda items. Thank you, Mrs. Benavides.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion to approve A through N with the exception of E?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes. Agenda item 5, items for individual consideration. A is approval of donations. Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Veliz, members of the board, at this time, it is the recommendation of the administration that the following donations of 1,000 or more be approved. An instrument donation received by United Middle School from Mr. Kevin Yang for 28 violins, 12 cellos with the approximate value of $3,680. We had one donation under 1,000, a donation from Pro Hall and Demolition Service of Laredo in the amount of $100 received by Kennedy Zapata. It goes toward 5th grade level. Grand total is for this month will be $4,180. I ask for your approval.
Thanks, sir. Make a motion for
Motion.
approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 5B, discussion possible action to approve board minutes for the month of May 2023.
Motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 5C, discussion and possible action regarding EdFlex waiver for San Isidro Elementary. Morales.
Good evening, Mr. Veliz, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience, Rebecca Morales, for the record, Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Policies. I'm here presenting this item on behalf of Ms. Adriana Ramirez from Federal Programs. We are bringing before you, currently our school district has all Title I school-wide campuses with the exception of one, which is San Isidro Elementary. We do have this opportunity to apply for an EdFlex waiver for San Isidro since they are at a 35.4% economically disadvantaged rate for the 23-24 school year. In doing so, if this is approved by you this evening, then we will be able to operate that campus as a Title I school-wide campus, meaning that all of the schools in our district would operate as school-wide campuses for Title I.
Waiver would only apply for this upcoming school year?
Correct. It would actually be as long as they maintain a minimum of 35% ECD. So if in the 24-25 school year, they're at least at a 35 or over, that waiver continues to be effective. If at any point they fall below a 35%, then they would no longer qualify.
Right, so we're right there at that minimum.
We're right at that minimum,
Okay.
sir, yes.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Morales.
Thank you.
We have a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion, unopposed, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 5D, it's discussion and possible action regarding first and final reading of board policy CHE local purchasing, acquisition, and vendor disclosures and contracts. Mr. Garcia?
Yes, so this item was sponsored by a few board members. It would be a change to local policy, and the change would read, the district shall not enter into a contract with or solicit services from a business entity in which a board member or a person related to a board member within the third degree by consanguinity, which is blood, or the second degree by affinity, which is marriage, owns a substantial interest as that item is defined by law and policy. So just for clarification, in case anyone's wondering, third degree by blood would mean father, mother, son, daughter, grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, grandson, nephew, niece. And second degree by marriage would be father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, etc. Spouse's grandfather, spouse's granddaughter, but it wouldn't extend to like aunts and uncles and of the spouse or nieces or nephews. So I don't know if there's any.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Motion for discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
I sponsored this item because we shouldn't have a board member that should be allocated a contract or their spouse or their immediate family. So I appreciate your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Okay.
Mr. Garcia, regarding, I don't know if we've already can do
Yeah, there were
discussion since we
discussion.
haven't
Go
done.
Discussion.
We can
Oh, you
proceed.
did?
Yes,
Motion?
discussion.
Okay, sorry. When it comes to the word contract, you know that we have a vendor and relationships with vendors. Does that include vendors? Because they don't do contracts under a vendor.
Yes, that would include RFPs. The way I understand them is it's a solicitation, and technically you're right. It's not a contract, but it is services that are being solicited.
So it
from
would
that
fall
vendor.
within this realm of the change we're doing.
Yes, in my opinion, it would because it does use the language or solicit services from.
I like to use the term financial relationship. There would not be allowed any financial relationship between a board member and anybody who's a vendor providing services.
Well, in my opinion, the financial relationship would fall under the contract or the solicitation of
Okay.
services.
Just want to be clear what I'm voting on. As far as the other, does this include any UISD or any employees?
It does not, no.
It does not include
It
employees?
only includes board members and third degree by blood or second degree by marriage. Because again, just a reminder for the board and the public, the law has mechanisms in place for how a board member or these individuals that are related to a board member could contract or provide their services to a district, which would include conflict of interest disclosure forms, abstention from voting. So that process is in the law if the board member so chooses to
So
do
this does
that.
not include employees?
But this does not include employees, no. This is
I
limited just to the board.
I recall a conversation I had with you at a board meeting back in December of last year, where I thought the assurance was that the law allowed board members to have contracts.
The law, yes.
And vendors. So are we going against the law?
No, sir, so that's a good point. The discussion there was more specifically, could we include that in the board operating procedures? And I went over what the hierarchy was, that the board operating procedures is really your internal regulations that is at the lowest rung of the hierarchy. And then after that point, it's your board policy, which is like similar to an ordinance with the city. It regulates how the district does things and implemented by the superintendent. And at that point, you have the law, you have the Constitution. So in my opinion, you would not be violating the law by passing this policy because, again, the law it doesn't require the district contract. It just says that if a district was going to contract with a board member, this is the mechanism to do it. So by this ordinance, you could say, by this local policy, the district is prohibiting a board member or a related.
This is what I call board rules, am I correct? These are
You can call it more like board ordinance.
But not operating procedures.
Operating procedures are more like board rules. But this is more of an ordinance because it does govern district operations and it's implemented by the administration.
So this is the intent, right, that you don't
Right.
want to have this done in the future?
Yeah, just to be clear, obviously, a district going into contract with a sitting board member, that's allowed by state law. Obviously, that's.
It's not prohibited by state
Right.
law.
So now we're
unless-
just going to the local level and we're initiating this policy into our board operating procedures.
Correct, yeah, it's like
Can you clarify that normally that's done with much smaller communities, but we are a much larger community where we have plenty of services available?
Well,
out
yeah, the
there?
reason the law is there is because,
Right.
like you mentioned, in smaller communities, you would have probably not many people around that provide certain types of services that the school district needs. So if the district did want to contract with a board member or solicit services from a board member or a family member, the law just provides you the mechanism for how that's done.
Right.
It doesn't say that it's allowed or not allowed or it's required. It just says if you want to do it, this is how you do it. These are the steps you have to follow. So, I mean, similar analogy would be like if you want to drive a car, you have to get the license, and this is how you do it. It's not saying that you have to, you have to drive or that, you have to be given a car. It's just saying if you want to, this is how you have to do it.
So with this passing right now, going forward, any sitting board member would not be allowed to.
Correct. Our recommendation would be that going forward, yeah, that
Yes.
there is no relationship,
just wanna
no
say-
contract with or solicitation of services from either a company that's owned by a board member or, the substantial interest, which is a legal test, basically, majority
Correct.
owner or more than 10% ownership would be for the board member, and third degree by blood or second degree by marriage.
Thank
That'd
you.
be
Thank you
that'd
for
be
the
this is the way this
clarification.
works.
Just wanted, for the record, for the
Yeah.
public to know that, and basically, any board member will not be able to have district contracts, district business, and family ties, right, until third.
Up to a certain degree,
Certain
correct.
degree.
Because at some point you get, I
But,
mean,
yeah.
we're still Laredo. I mean, you get to like fourth degree, fifth
But
degree,
something
we're
we
probably already.
control in-house and have a board policy, and it will not, get out of hand in that sense of.
That's the recommendation. And again, like, going back to Mr. Castillo's point from tonight and also from months ago, another way to do it would be you could petition the legislature to prohibit it completely or, get rid of the ways to do it. But that, absent that, which obviously is very difficult to do, you have these local ordinances that govern how the district does business. And this is the one, CHE local is the one on contracts and vendor disclosures. So this is one limitation you can have.
Thank
But
you.
not through board operating procedures, because again, that's just your local regulation.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
And second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item E, discussion and possible action to disperse discretionary funds from District 2 trustee for the 2023-2024 school year and assurance for equal allocation of said funds for district campuses within District 2.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia or Mr. Trotman, can you,
Clarify.
Absolutely. So we were asked by the sponsors of this item whether basically removing a trustee's discretionary funds or reallocating a trustee's discretionary funds was allowable, was it legal? We researched the item and we are 100% confident that it is legal. There is no legal entitlement to discretionary funds. We don't have any local policy in place stating that we can or cannot reallocate the funds. We did ask a question regarding the city of Laredo. I believe this was, they tried to do this recently to basically redistribute a sitting council member's discretionary funds. They were not allowed to do it there, but the difference there is it's in the city charter, it's in the city ordinance, it's in ordinances. So here we're very confident that District 2 trustees' discretionary funds for the 23-24 school year, which I believe become effective September 1st, could be reallocated and redistributed equally within the District 2 campuses.
motion for discussion?
Second.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The reason I'm sponsoring this item is as a follow-up to our last special called meeting, specifically on District 2 trustee lack of confidence and trust. I will be making a motion to the total amount of discretionary funds for that district allowed to that trustee to be dispersed evenly throughout District 2 schools. That is my motion.
All right, so we have a motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion?
It would be to the schools? you
To
said?
the schools within District 2, evenly.
For the
Very good.
23,
24 school year.
Coming school year, yeah.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Item F, discussion possible action regarding requests from board members in reference to use of board discretionary funds for various projects and campuses.
Good evening once again, Mr. Vélez, members of the board, members of the audience, Rebecca Morales on behalf of Mike Garza. We do not have any additional requests, only what was presented at the board workshop last week.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Morales.
Make a motion to approve as the items that were requested. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 6, closed session. Time is currently 6:53 p.m. in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.076. The board will discuss items 6A through 6D. No action will be taken in closed session, and we will be back in approximately 30 minutes. All right, right, agenda item 6E, open session. The board has reconvened from closed session, and we are now in open session. Time is 8:13 PM for the record. No action was taken in closed session. Agenda item 6E, we have possible action with respect to the status of lawsuit filed by Potential Holdings LLC against the United Independent School District regarding UISD streets Santa Claudia and Santa Monica located within the UISD Student Activity Complex and the underlying dispute upon which the lawsuit was based upon. Suit was filed under cost number 2023 CVG 000151D2.
Yes, Mr. Veliz, the recommendation is to authorize legal counsel to proceed in the lawsuit as discussed in closed session.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 6E, possible action with respect to executing resolution for the sale of the real property described as Lot 2A, just 3.13 acres, Block 1, Unit 2, as well as a 16.8695 acre tract out of Tract 6, Unit 2, Las Blancas subdivision, Laredo, Webb County, Texas.
Yes, Mr. Veliz, I'm going to read into the record a resolution that we are recommending the board adopt. Bear with me, there is quite a bit of reading. UISD resolution regarding sale of Lot 2A, 3.13 acres, Block 1, Unit 2, as well as a 16.8695 acre tract out of Tract 6, Unit 2, Las Blancas subdivision. Resolved that the United Independent School District Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the administration of the United Independent School District to initiate the sale of real property currently owned by the United Independent School District. The real property is described as Lot 2A, 3.13 acres, Block 1, Unit 2, as well as a 16.8695 acre tract out of Tract 6, Unit 2, Las Blancas subdivision, Laredo, Webb County, Texas. The administration shall issue notice to the general public of the offer of the sale of the real property, and the notice shall be published in the Laredo Morning Times on 2 separate dates, and the sale of the real property will not be made until after the 14th day after the second publication. The notice will include the description of the real property, its location, and the procedure by which sealed bids to purchase the real property may be submitted. Ramiro Veliz III shall be authorized by this resolution to execute the deed for the conveyance of the real property to the purchaser of the property with the deed reciting the resolution of the Board of Trustees authorizing the sale.
Okay, make
So
a
moved.
motion. Okay, Mr. Castillo makes a motion, I make a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 6E3, is possible action with respect to executing resolution for the sale of residential lot described as a .334 acre tract on the western side of Valencia Avenue out of Lot 3, Block 2, United Independent School District, Santa Rita Elementary School Plant, Laredo, Webb County, Texas.
Motion.
Second.
You have to read it.
Yes, Mr. Veliz, once again, I do need to read the resolution. USD resolution regarding sale of Lot 3, Block 2 on the 300 block and west side of Palencia Avenue. Resolved that the United Independent School District Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the administration of the United Independent School District to initiate the sale of real property currently owned by the United Independent School District. The real property is described as Lot 3, Block 2, comprised of approximately .3630 acres, as reflected in the United Independent School District Santa Rita Elementary School plat, situated in portion 37, abstract 410, Jose Bartolo Chapa, original grantee, City of Laredo, Webb County, Texas. Such plat recorded in volume 14, page 14 of the plat records of Webb County, Texas. The administration shall issue notice to the general public of the offer of the sale of the real property, and the notice shall be published in the Laredo Morning Times on 2 separate dates, and the sale of the real property will not be made until after the 14th day after the second publication. The notice will include the description of the real property, its location, and the procedure by which sealed bids to purchase the real property may be submitted. Ramiro Veliz III be authorized by this resolution to execute the deed for the conveyance of the real property to the purchaser of the property with the deed reciting the resolution of the Board of Trustees authorizing the sale.
We had a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 6E4, discussion and possible action regarding appointment of principal at Fasken Elementary School. Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Veliz, members of the board, it is my recommendation the Board of Trustees approve the appointment of Ms. Liliana Barragan as principal at Fasken Elementary School.
Motion.
Second.
Motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Congratulations to Ms. Barragan.
She's actually here present, sir.
She is?
Sorry to
Wow.
interrupt you.
Where is she?
Congratulations.
All right.
Awesome.
Agenda item 6E, number 5, discussion and possible action regarding appointment of principal at Clark Middle School.
Yes, sir. It is my recommendation to the Board of Trustees to approve the appointment of Ms. Michelle C. Gomez as principal of Clark Middle School.
Motion.
A motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Congratulations to Ms. Gomez as well.
Congratulations.
Agenda item 6E6, discussion and possible action regarding the issuance of term employment contract for the 2023-2024 school year for Director of Technology and Executive Director for Safety Crisis Management.
Mr. Vélez, members of the Board, it's my recommendation to the Board of Trustees that the Board of Trustees take action and approve the insurance and term employment contract for the 2023-2024 school year for Director of Technology and Executive Director for Safety and Crisis Management. For the record, as Superintendent, I had already rescinded the resignations. I asked to take action.
Right.
And
Motion.
for the record, the employees' names are Rene Cruz and Dolores Parera.
Correct. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 6E7, discussion and possible action to rescind proposed non-renewal of classroom teachers' term employment contract, rescind appointment of board designated hearing officer, and approve assignation agreement, and to authorize superintendent to execute relevant documents.
Yes, sir. The recommendation is to rescind the proposed non-renewal of classroom teacher Gustavo Rojo Buendia's term employment contract that the board acted upon on May 11th, 2023, rescind the appointment of the board-designated hearing officer Jose Maldonado, to approve the resignation agreement as discussed in closed session, and to authorize the superintendent and administration to execute all relevant documents.
Motion.
A motion,
Second.
a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 7, adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion, second. We are adjourned at 8:20. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.